Hey everyone, it's Miserable Movie Man back once again with another video. This will be another quick one. I just wanted to do a pretty short review of the mid-season of Cobra Kai. I know we're in the final season and I finished watching the second part of the final season, so the 5 episodes from 5 to 10, which were out a while ago now, but I only got around to it because of the holiday break. I want to give my thoughts. I thought it was decent, but I think they're jumping the shark a little bit on a couple of things. Yeah, of course, there's going to be spoilers in this video, and because of the previous seasons, I know they wanted to up the ante with a world tournament of the Sekai Taikai, which is a very strange name. I would rather it been called the Kumite or something like that. But, you know, there were some cool kind of allusions in the first part of the season to Best the Best, which is one of my favorite films for martial arts genre, 1 and 2, maybe not 3 and 4. But Best the Best 1 is a brilliant film, and I thought the second part will have some kind of allusions to that, but really it didn't. But again, I think upping the ante means they could only really go one place, and that giant brawl at the end was a little bit nuts, including the organizer, who, you know, looks a little bit like, maybe was it on purpose? I guess he looks a bit like Brackus from Best the Best 2. So maybe that's a tip of the hat, but you know, he's clearly got some skills about him as well. The martial artists are incredible, and we continue with the illusion that, like, at least before in the previous seasons, it was Miyagi-Do versus Cobra Kai. So when you see people doing sort of jump 360 or 720 spins with a kick, you think, okay, well, I don't think they've learned that from Daniel or Johnny, but you know, in global tournaments, you'll see that level of quality and competition maybe, and clearly the Cobra Kai main villain star has that. But the other dojos seem to be incredibly competent, and somehow Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai prove their worth with their limited level of karate that I guess Daniel taught them. Maybe it's a nod to the fact that you really only need the basics done really, really well to be able to compete. Perhaps if you do that so well that you can't really get through your defense and your offense is timed so perfectly, you only really need a decent punch or kick instead of all the flash moves. That could be the statement they're trying to make there, but it did seem a little bit too much over the top, too unbelievable for me. And then apart from the brawl, we have the shocking death at the end. I mean, I'm assuming he's dead. People look like they've died and come back before in this show, but I think they really wanted to make it hit home that people can die in this show. They wanted some tension, in terms of the final sort of part of the season. So that was a little bit shocking as well. I thought the love triangles a little bit forced. A lot of will they, won't they, will they, won't they. It reminds me a little bit of Dawson's Creek, or Dawson's Crack, as Kevin Smith called it, where, you know, you got 4 characters. How many variations of people and triangles can you get out of those? Again, similarly, for this mid-season part, they brought in a couple of love triangles that I thought were a little bit forced. I didn't think it really needed them. But again, I think they were just trying to create strong emotional teen drama, which I think is where it's at now. I mean, before, for me, it was a show that adults could really watch and enjoy. Now I think it's devolved a little bit into the teen drama element, a bit too much for me. And maybe you could argue that the original Karate Kid films were like that too. But, you know, I thought the first few seasons were well written and focused enough on Daniel and Johnny and their problems to have that adult element too. But now Daniel is, you know, so blinkered by Miyagi and his past. I thought the dream sequence was pretty ridiculous. Mr. Miyagi, what are you doing? Why am I here? I mean, Daniel resorts to being Wine Yell, as, you know, people used to call him. But yeah, that kind of singular purpose is getting a bit too much now for me. Johnny is still one of the more entertaining characters on the screen. I like the balance they brought between he's starting to learn his lesson a little bit. I really thought he would get thrown off the flight, so it was cool to see that he didn't overstep the boundaries because he knew what was most important to him. So I do think Johnny's probably had more growth than most of them in the show, to be honest, and he's certainly very watchable. Chosen, as always, is very cool to watch. I've always been a fan of Chosen since Karate Kid 2. What I do want to see more of in the last part of the season, I'd love to see more of Sato. Just that character I thought was amazing, and the voice, "You betray me." I mean, he just sounded like he had a sore throat the whole time. It was pretty hilarious to watch. But Sato was a great character, so maybe they could bring that back in a flashback. I'm guessing they're going to do more of what Miyagi did in the Sekai Taikai with the death, back in the old Kumite days. So yeah, let's see what the last part of the season has to show for it. But I thought that it was a bit of a weak mid-season element. It built up okay, went a bit too crazy, and some of the plot lines they set up seemed a bit forced to me. So hopefully, they bring themselves back to the stunning writing and brilliant watchable elements that made seasons 1 to 4 so great. It's going to be interesting how they do it. Some parts of the characters were a little bit relegated to background, like Kenny and Devon, and they focus a little bit more on the main characters. But Xolo Mariduena has a film career as well, so he's branching out, and maybe that's the reason why we didn't see so much of Miguel in the mid part of the season. Hopefully we see more Miguel in the last part, because he's one of the most watchable people I think on that show. Testament to his acting too. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go. Of course Silver was going to come back. I mean, you knew that was going to happen. I did a video on Silver before Cobra Kai even dropped, and I have always put Terry Silver as my number 3 top villain of all time, and I state the reasons for that in the video. But Silver's cool. Kreese can never be counted out. What I really don't want to see, though, is these two guys fighting. Now, when Miyagi fought as an old man, and Pat Morita did some of it, but he had a stunt double played by the legendary Fumio Demura, who is an amazing karate practitioner, and that looked really authentic because the guy was a skilled martial artist, and you can still fight at that age. But I think the stunt doubles for Kreese just. It's so obvious that it is, and you really don't need to see Kreese fight anymore. Thomas Ian Griffith has still got it. I mean, he was a very talented martial artist. I mean, still is a talented martial artist. He can still kick pretty well. But at his age, again, we don't need to be seeing a fight between two old geezers. Yes, Miyagi kicked the asses of Kreese, Silver, and Bad Boy Barnes in their prime. And that was one of the biggest highlights of Karate Kid 3. Especially the end part. Whoa! I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. But I don't need to see Kreese and Silver go at it. Johnny's intervention was interesting. Let's see how that plays out. And Daniel running to stop the knife part was interesting. Well, I actually thought he was the one that was going to get stabbed. He would jump maybe in front of the big Ivan Drago dude to get stabbed himself. But it didn't play out that way. And now maybe they're setting up Miguel versus that dude for the final fight, because there's clearly now animosity there, and Robbie beat the other guy, so he bested his demons in that respect. And we'll see, yeah. Overall, again, a bit disappointed. I thought it was a bit weak, a bit over the top. Many elements I wasn't that interested in. Let's see if they can bring it home. If they really do follow Best of the Best, and if you haven't seen that film, I highly suggest you watch it. If they really do follow Best of the Best in maybe not parallel, but they take inspiration from it, it could be an amazing ending. But let's see what happens. Oh, and before I forget, there were a couple of things that I thought were really cheesy. I thought that the training sequence in the vein of Rocky, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Best of the Best was incredibly cheesy. They even had the Rocky run up the stairs. I think they were trying to do some element of kickboxer and blood sport in there too. That didn't really work for me at all, and the music really did not hit the spot in that scene. And then also the other scene I thought was really cheesy was Daniel being scared in Barcelona, them trying to make the back streets of Barcelona look like some kind of scary area or slum. It really did not look like that at all. And maybe even the golden child scene where he buys the locket off the kid and he uses the locket later on to help him escape. I thought that was really cheesy too, just not very well executed for either of those scenes. So there you have it. That's my mid-season review of Cobra Kai Season 6. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As usual, please like, share, and subscribe to help support the channel. And as always, catch you next time.